Right now, the most dangerous sound in the MotoGP paddock isn't an engine. It's silence from Fabio Quartararo. When a former world champion stops talking about wins and starts talking about finding himself, alarm bells don't just ring, they scream. Because this isn't a rider moaning about grip or electronics after a tough weekend. This is Yamaha's talisman, their project leader, their 2021 title hero, openly signaling that his future is no longer tied to loyalty, money, or even history. It's tied to feeling something again on a MotoGP bike. Confidence, control, and above all, joy. And if Yamaha cannot give him that soon, the unthinkable edges closer. Fabio Quartararo walking away, leaving the Japanese giant stranded in the middle of a technical rebuild and a competitive crisis. Yamaha now stand at a crossroads in their attempt to retain Fabio Quartararo, and the Frenchman's recent remarks suggest this is no longer a standard contract negotiation. This is existential for both rider and manufacturer. Quartararo has made it clear that his MotoGP future is no longer driven by loyalty or a lucrative salary. Instead, he is chasing something far more personal: belief in the machine beneath him and enjoyment on track. The 2021 MotoGP world champion admitted that his priorities have shifted, saying he now wants to find himself again. A striking phrase from a rider still in his prime. With his current deal expiring at the end of this season, Quartararo has already become one of the hottest names linked to the 2027 rider market. His previous decision to extend with Yamaha through 2025-2026, reportedly worth around €12 million per year, came after turning down interest from Aprilia. At the time, it looked like a statement of faith. Today, it looks more like a gamble that hasn't paid off. When Quartararo signed that contract, his ambition was clear. When I signed the contract for this year and next year, 2025-2026, my goal was to bring home the best possible results for Yamaha. But reality has been brutal. Across that period, he has managed just a single Grand Prix podium, while Yamaha have sunk to the bottom of the manufacturer's standings. For a rider who once dictated races from the front with surgical precision, the contrast is stark and mentally draining. Now his focus is shifting away from rescuing Yamaha at all costs. Now I want to find myself, my future, and my personal goals. That statement speaks volumes. This is no longer about carrying a struggling project on his shoulders. It's about whether staying is even the right move for his career and legacy. In response to their decline, Yamaha have embarked on a major technical overhaul, most notably switching to a V4 engine concept for the first time. It's a historic shift, an admission that the inline-4 philosophy that once dominated is no longer enough in the current MotoGP arms race. However, Quartararo's early reaction to the new bike has reportedly been lukewarm since autumn testing. His demand is simple: competitiveness now. Yamaha's approach, by contrast, remains methodical and step-by-step. A long-term rebuild rather than an instant fix. That philosophical mismatch could be decisive. Pre-season tests at Sepang and Buriram are being viewed inside the paddock as pivotal moments. Many believe this is Yamaha's final real opportunity to convince Quartararo that the new direction can deliver results quickly enough to justify his patience. If the performance gap remains wide, trust, already fragile, may fracture completely. Quartararo is already being linked with Honda, Aprilia, and Ducati. 3 manufacturers currently offering stronger technical packages on paper. Each presents a different story. Ducati, the benchmark bike on the grid but with fierce internal competition. Aprilia, a project on the rise, fast and increasingly stable. Honda, still rebuilding but with vast resources and the allure of being the spearhead of a revival. For any of them, a motivated reset Quartararo could be transformative. What makes this situation so critical is psychological, not just technical. Quartararo doesn't sound like a rider chasing tenths. He sounds like a rider questioning his direction. That's far more dangerous for Yamaha. When a champion stops believing he can express himself on the bike, performance spirals. Confidence fuels aggression, braking precision, tyre management. Everything. Without it, even elite talent looks ordinary. Yamaha's crisis, then, is deeper than horsepower or aerodynamics. It's about restoring a rider's emotional connection to the machine. If they fail, the loss wouldn't just be a star name, it would be the collapse of the entire rebuilding strategy centered around him. Because make no mistake, if Fabio Quartararo walks away, Yamaha don't just lose a rider, they lose their future. Behind the scenes, there is also growing pressure inside Yamaha's management structure. Engineers are being asked to accelerate development cycles that traditionally took seasons, not months. The shift to a V4 engine is not just a mechanical change, it alters chassis balance, electronics philosophy, and tyre behaviour. For a rider like Quartararo, who relies heavily on front-end feel and corner speed, even small inconsistencies can destroy trust. What complicates matters further is the calendar itself. MotoGP's schedule leaves very little breathing room for radical experimentation once the season is underway. If the base package is not competitive early, updates become patches rather than solutions. That reality makes the Sepang and Buriram tests feel less like preparation and more like an audition. Not for Yamaha, but for Quartararo's patience. Within the paddock, rival teams are watching closely but saying little publicly. Privately, however, there is clear intrigue. A rider of Quartararo's caliber rarely becomes available without injury or decline. He is still at peak age, still one of the fastest over one lap, and still regarded as one of the purest talents in terms of racecraft. That combination makes him a rare market opportunity. There is also the question of timing. The 2027 regulation cycle is looming and manufacturers are already sketching their long-term structures. Signing Quartararo now would not just be about immediate results, it would be about building a new era project around a proven champion. Yamaha, of course, intended that rider to remain Fabio. But that assumption now looks increasingly fragile. From Quartararo's perspective, the emotional fatigue cannot be underestimated. Carrying development responsibility while fighting outside the podium positions week after week drains even the strongest competitors. Riders often speak about the mental toll of riding around problems rather than exploiting strengths. Over time, that erodes instinct, and instinct is what made him special.